So first, I just want to show where you can get the application kit. So you can always come to our webpage. So it's ihs.gov and Health Systems Planning. Actually, no, DFPC. That's what the URL I want to go to. This URL right here will take you to our homepage. And if you click on Programs and if you click on SAP, you will find the application kit information. So you got it in Word, a fillable PDF, and then also we have the proposal as well. Um, and then the other thing as well, if you're looking for HSP training after this call, you can always go here, HSP planning right here. And we have our links to all the different office hours that we've had. And if you look at one for exactly for SAP, you can click on this one right here and it'll take you to YouTube and you can watch this one. Now, this one was done a couple of years ago, so the process has changed and the software has changed a little bit as well. So some of the functionality might not be apples to apples, but overall, it'll give you the basics to be able to complete what you need to complete to do uh, the training there. So so that is where we stand with health systems planning and the website information. So just I'll type this URL in the chat so it could be easily referenced. There we go. All right. So next thing is going to HSP. So if you don't have an HSP login, the first thing you're going to do after you get off this call is email me requesting access to HSP. If you're emailing me from a tribal server, that will be enough, and I'll go ahead and grant you access. If you're emailing me from @gmail.com or at Hotmail, we're going to ask for a letter of support from a tribal administrator or an email from a tribal server saying that you are indeed working on the behalf of the tribe and they grant you access. Or if the IHS area as well, if they know who you are and you just happen to be working from an email address from Gmail, then the area can also vet you and then we'll be able to provide you access to the software. So, but before we even start all that, the first thing we're going to do is pull up the application kit. So this is the application kit for the fiscal year 25-26 small laboratory program. And I'm not going to read all of this. You guys can read it on your own time just for the sake of time. But this is where you get all the information about the program. And you scroll through this, and this is a fillable PDF. And what we've been advising tribes and applicants is to use this as your worksheet. And once you're done with everything, you can send this fillable form to the area and all the attachments that you need to, attach to the application. And then once the area gives you the support memo, you keep all this information and all your attachments in a single folder. And then once you submit everything through Grant Solutions and Survey 123, you'll have everything you need to complete the application information, submit it online, and then in your folder, you'll have all basically a replica of what you submitted. So I think that is the best and easiest way to make sure that you submit your application on time, and then more importantly, get everything to the areas intact. Because right now we don't have the capability to submit everything through Survey 123 and then submit that to the area. That's not available to us right now, maybe in the future, but for this cycle, you're going to have to take your materials manually and email them to the area so they can review and provide the area support memo accordingly. So let's see if we can scroll down to the fillable part, and then we'll go through each section of the fillable part. And then if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Here are the dates, and actually, we'll actually at the end. But one thing I'm going to ask everybody on the call is about this due date here, August 3rd. One thing that we've noticed is due to the typos from the application kit and the delay of IHS OIT to posting the training video, I'm thinking about asking maybe my supervisor if we could get an extra 2 weeks or maybe an extra month, maybe push it back to September 3rd to allow tribes and areas additional time to complete the application kit. So at the end of the call, I'll ask if everyone is in favor or against that particular proposal. If we get a majority of folks who say yes, they want the extra time, I'll go ahead and see if I can get that approved. If everyone is okay with the current timeline, well, we'll just move forward. And just keep in mind that the later we push back the due date, the later the awards are going to be. So the awards might not come out in December. It might bleed into 2027. Just so keep that in mind. And then also, if you're shy, you could just put it in the chat, which one you rather prefer. So you can just type in the chat one more time, less time, and I can kind of get an idea of who wants to extend the application submittal time. Okay, let's move down here to the fillable part. So here, you just fill out all the information. So date of application submission. So if it's any time before August 3rd, you can put that date. So you can put the date that you're actually going to upload your application just so you have it for your own record. So I'm going to assume that we're going to be submitting this right on the due date. But if you're going to submit it next week, if you got all your information, you can put that date in there as well. Okay, so the applicant project control number, this is a number for your own internal records. This is not a number that we use internally to kind of track and manage projects. But if you have, if the tribe has an individual, has a specific way of how they keep track of grant applications or things that the grant writer's doing, they can put that control number for their own internal processes. But it doesn't have to be filled in. It could be left blank as well. Here, you want to put in a descriptive title of the application, exactly what the project's for. So we're gonna build a clinic and let's say let's use Phoenix. I don't know if I want to use Phoenix. Let's use Portland. Okay, here we go. Portland Healthcare Clinic. We'll call it satellite clinic. Okay. So this will be where you describe the project. So if you're doing uh, dental expansion, if you're doing a new satellite facility, this is where you put that information here. So the amount requested, so we're going to ask for the maximum amount, which is 3.5 million. We want to make sure we got the right digits, and we're going to say the total cost of our project is 10 million. All right, and let's make this easy. Actually, that's like 35%. There we go. So next is the full name, address, phone number of the tribal or tribal organization applicant. So this is like the tribe who's going to be applying. So this is where you will put, um, we'll just put, all right. So we'll just put XYZ tribe of Oregon, telephone number, full address, and then the email.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Our consortia is 4 tribes. So would we put just the name of our organization, or do we have to select one of the tribes in our consortia?
You can just put the organization. If you have an
Okay.
organization, you don't have to put each individual tribe. Okay. So the full tribal organizational leader. So this will be like the chairman, the president. Yeah, or we could say so we could say Joe Lee, okay, president. Say telephone number, fax number. No, might have to I don't know if anybody using faxes out there anymore.
So I have a quick question. We're
Yes.
the Round Valley Indian Health Center, and we've been designated by the tribe to be able to submit this grant. So can we submit it as the Round Valley Indian Health Center with our executive director as the leader?
Yes, if the tribe delegated that authority to you via a tribal resolution, yes, you can.
Okay,
So
thank you.
what we're going to make sure is that when you submit your application kit, make sure that it's clear that the tribe has given you that authority to act on their behalf as it pertains to applications like this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So designated official, so this is where, you have the organizational leader and the designated official. You could think about this person as who's authorized to help out with things. So this could probably be like a tribal administrator or the grant writer. It just depends. Like, for instance, like contact and responsible official for the application. This could be possibly be like the tribal administrator if you're working with the tribal government. Maybe they're the ones who are the liaisons to the council members and the chairman. So maybe you might want to put that particular person's name there. And then maybe the official for execution. This could probably be the project manager. Sometimes grant writers wear many hats. It could be the grant writer as well. But these are different contacts. So to make sure that if we need to get information or if we need something to be executed from the federal government side, we know who to contact. So things can happen expeditiously. So we're not waiting a while to try to figure out who should we send to what to make sure things are getting processed. So just something just to consider. And we could just fill these names out as well. And we can say X number and A. P, okay, so the general location of the project. So we're just going to put Portland. And then once we get to the survey 1, 2, 3 portion, you don't have to put the Latin long because I'll show you how you figure out how to navigate the GIS map and select the location of where your facility is going to be. So I said EIN number. This is where we just put this information here. At the project classification. So here we have to select the proper surface unit, the maximum portable space, and what that falls under large or small. And we will go through this at a later time. Once we get to the survey 1, 2, 3 portion, it'll fill it in automatically. But also in HSP, we'll go through and figure out which, because like right now, I don't know this information from Portland off the top of my head. But once I go into the HSP software, I'll be able to, pick out which service units will apply to my healthcare facility and then fill out the information accordingly. So you got the UI number, comes from sam.gov if you don't have one. So this is important. So you make sure you're registered in sam.gov or we won't be able to transfer the funds. Yeah, so certification. A congressional district.
But I have a question. For
Yes,
that UEI number, do the corporations have those numbers?
the
Like for
corporation.
Navajo?
Oh, so it depends. They should. Because if you want to be awarded, normally for acquisitions, this is what contractors have to have for us to make an award to someone. But tribes are also supposed to have this number as well. So I'm not sure exactly if they use this number to relay the funds because we do a Title 1638 contract. So
Correct.
yeah, so I'm not exactly sure if that's used to make award, but we asked for the information in the application kit. So I assume that most tribes and tribe organizations have this because in my experience being SAP manager, I've never not seen this data field not filled in.
Hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay. So then now you answer the questions to make sure that you are eligible. So these are all acknowledgments about what makes you ineligible for SAP if you don't agree to these terms. So uh, so I'm not going to read each one individually. You can read these on your own, but for filling out your application kit on when you complete it online, this is where you can make sure that you answer these questions correctly. And so here, make sure you fill out your status reports when you get awarded. No additional funding allowed. So the construction management. So we get a lot of questions about this on the during this cycle about construction management contract, and the application kit doesn't really do a good job of this. But I'm going to make this really clear. If you already have a construction management contract, this doesn't make you ineligible for SAP. If you have already planned your project, say you've already got your A&E drawings, you've already completed the design phase and you're ready to go to construction, you've actually bid out that job for construction and you got a contract in place, that it's still okay with the contractor. As long as that contractor doesn't start construction, you're okay. What happens is that as soon as you start doing foundation work, so even you can do clearing and grubbing, you can clear the site of brush and trees or anything else you got to make it ready for construction. But as soon as you start digging for that foundation, that is when your project will automatically be ineligible. And the reason for that is that IHS does not fund projects retroactively. So that's why it's okay to have construction things in place, especially as you wait for the SAP funds to come in, especially if you don't want to miss certain deadlines and timelines that you've already set up for your project. But just please note that you can't have that contract go to notice to proceed. You got to make sure that even if it's a design build, make sure that the builder knows, hey, we're waiting for these SAP funds. Don't start construction until we say so. So I just want to make sure that that's clear with everybody on the call that you can have things set up for construction, bid your project out, hire a contractor for your construction, but they just can't start construction of the foundation. Okay, these are contract assurances, will record, comply, lead-based. So these are all making sure. And then the reason why you have to fill these out is because the application kit will become your contract. So we take your proposal and then we take the acquisitions team will take some other contracting documents and then put them together in a package in one document, and then that will be your official contract with the government. So that's why it's important that this information is checked and everything is understood, because this is the precursor to what the actual contract is going to be if you're awarded between the government and the tribe. Another question that was coming up a lot was about this question here, federally recognized tribe. Next year we probably will change this language to federally recognized tribe or tribal organization. But the thing about it, it's a language thing because tribal organizations, I don't know if they show up in the Federal Register or not. Somebody on the call can correct me if they do. But we just say federal recognized tribe to make it clean and clear, as to make sure that we're following the statute of SAP and something that we can easily look up in the Federal Register. But we also do recognize that, tribal organizations are also acceptable. So I don't want anyone to get crossed up thinking that they're not eligible because they're not explicitly a federal recognized tribe because they're applying as a tribal organization. If you're a tribal organization, it's okay to click yes here. It's just a language thing. We understand that we don't have it explicitly in the application kit, but we know that you're being honest, and that we know that the tribal organization is made up of federally recognized tribes. And if you want, you can list those tribes here if you wish, if it makes you feel a little bit more comfortable when answering this question. But we just want to make that clear that that incorporates both tribes and tribal organizations. So please click yes if you're a tribal organization on this question number one. Different name, you can provide one if not. Some tribes have different names as do business as and such things. So you can put that name there if you're such tribe that does that. So
Again,
that is the, oh, go ahead, question.
I have a little question here again. Round Valley Indian Health Center, we should be putting that in as a different legal name. I mean, we're designated by a federally recognized tribe, a group of tribes, but should I put Round Valley Indian Health Center because that's different from the federally recognized tribes?
You could, like, this is just more of like an information gathering question. It doesn't impact eligibility or award in any way. I think it's more of an item that we just take if you want to, and then obviously you provide an explanation of everything. So if you want to put that information there, you would put that in there and provide an explanation. So and we'll just put it to the record, but it doesn't have an impact on how your project is going to be reviewed or scored, or in the award process as well. So. Okay, so these are the eligibility questions. So you have to make sure that there's no, like I just explained, make sure there's no construction going on. So has on-site construction started for a project? No, you know, so here is where it gets confusing. So it says if on-site construction has not started, does the applicant plan to award a construction contract for on-site work prior to receipt of the etc. So this is where folks are getting tripped up at, and because what I just explained is that you could have a construction contract awarded, but you just can't start construction. That's the thing. We don't fund projects retroactively. So this is what causes folks to kind of get tripped up on that question and wondering if they've already went to bid and already got a contractor in place, what should they do next? So for this question, to make sure that you're eligible, obviously I don't want anybody to, not tell the truth. If you have something going on, please let us know, and then we'll make sure that we'll work with the area to make sure that your application is eligible so we understand what's going on. I don't want anybody to be ineligible due to awarding a construction contract but not have yet started construction, because this application kit doesn't really make that clear. So, we just want to make sure that you understand how that goes. So. And as you hear, you select no. And also if your project's early in the planning phase or you're still just figuring things out, then obviously it's a no-brainer. It's a no for you. But for those particular applicants who are much further along in their project delivery phase, then this is where it might give you a little bit of headache a little bit. But just let us know. Let me and the area know, and we'll work with you to make sure that your application is eligible. So the funding agreement is definitely a must. So you must have that. And you have to make sure that IHS was never an owner of the facility. So IHS could have never built your facility. It had to be 100% tribally owned and managed. IHS could have never provided funds for it. So they have to make sure that that is clear. Okay, yes, this apply the legal name of the current owner of the healthcare facility being operated under the PLCS. So this is where you put the information here. Say X, Y, Z. And that's just the funding agreement between IHS and the tribe. So you just put that information there. And this is another non-receipt of prior funding. So making sure that this particular project, one thing we have to make clear, this does not apply to SAP funds. So if you did a SAP project 5-10 years ago and you're coming back to the same healthcare facility and you want to do another expansion at that healthcare facility, the SAP funding does not include this. It includes HCFC priority system funding. So if you had a facility constructed by IHS long ago, and the tribe compacted and they own the building, that particular facility for expansions and renovations, modernization is not eligible for SAP. But if you had a tribally owned, tribally built facility that was only 100% funded and constructed by the tribe in its whole existence. And in 2017, you got SAP and you expanded your dental wing. Now it's 2026 and pharmacy has grown and you want to expand your pharmacy services, your pharmacy space. You can apply for SAP. This particular question will not apply to you. So just make sure that we understand the difference. But everything else, when it comes to IHS giving funding to the project, does apply. So we'll go into HSP. We'll do our certifications here in a bit. Let me see if we can finish the rest of these questions to finish up the fillable form. Program assurances. Yeah, so just making sure that you give us these assurances for healthcare facility once it's done. So making sure that it's used for healthcare. You have financial support. And just making sure that it's going to be provided for beneficiaries and not non-bens. So yes. Here is the financial management system. And one thing about your application kit, we don't need to see the full audit. All we need to see is the summary page. If you give us a full audit, it can eat into your 75-page limit. So all we need is the summary page that shows if it has material weakness, significant deficiencies, if it's a low-risk auditee, that's the page that we want to see. If there is some material weaknesses and some other significant deficiencies that were found in your audit, then you can attach what the auditor suggested for improvements to make sure you pass the next audit next year. So you can attach those recommended steps to improve the controls as found in your audit that can be attached to your application. But we don't need to see the full audit. And as you can see, if you select yes or no, it doesn't impact you as far as eligibility. We just let the applicants know that if you don't have all your financial documentation, it can hurt the score of your application. So we even ask this question directly as well, if there's any substantial, significant, or material weaknesses. So, and tribal resolution. One thing I must say about the tribal resolution, make sure all of these statements are in the tribal resolution. Sometimes I would say just copy and paste it from the application kit, because one thing I've seen throughout the years is that they miss certain things in the tribal resolution. Like they might miss the support, or they might miss how much the project cost. So make sure everything about the particular project and the scope in the project is in the tribal resolution. If things are missing, then it doesn't make you ineligible, but it can definitely hurt your score. So because there's other tribes who put everything in there that's required of them. So please make sure that you double and triple check what's on this list, and you make sure it makes it into your tribal resolution. And also make sure you put who's able to sign for you for the legal documents for the tribe or the tribal organization. So, and then now this is when we go to survey 1, 2, 3. This is the technical proposal. Let's see if there's anything else on the fillable form. Yes, okay, so we have the need for calculation project table, which we will go through here in a bit after we go to HSP, and that will finish the fillable form. One thing I want to say, make sure you sign your application. A signature is a must. If you do all this stuff and you don't sign the application, it's ineligible. So make sure that you get the person who is authorized to sign on behalf of the tribe, as is listed in the tribal resolution. Make sure that person signs the application. If they don't sign it, then they have to deem it ineligible. Okay, so that is the most of the fillable form. Now I'm going to hop into HSP. So before we do that, does anybody have any questions? Okay.
I have one question.
Yes.
If the resolution doesn't include the specific SAP language and SAP project, it will be an item that's not will that preclude the tribe from?
No.
Okay.
I know sometimes tribal resolutions take a long time and are hard to get.
Yes.
And sometimes information is just missing just because it's hard to gather everything that's needed. before you can get on the docket for the tribal council meeting schedule. That's okay.
Correct.
That's okay. I just want to give fair warning about
Everybody else might have
yeah,
it and you don't have
exactly. And you don't have it. So it could hurt your opportunity to be into the funding range. So
it. Okay.
so
All right.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, so let's go.
Commander,
Yes.
could you talk a little bit about the need for a project calculation table? In
Yeah.
the application kit that saw, there was no numerical weighting to the condition rating, good, fair, poor, and so I didn't know how it would calculate. Does it calculate the number itself, or
Yeah, we'll go into that. So first I'm gonna hop in HSP first. And
okay,
then
perfect.
yeah, after we hop in HSP, I'm gonna do the HSP portion of it. And then after that, I'll hop back into the fillable form and then complete everything that we needed from
Okay,
HSP. So
very good. Thank you.
yep.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I put a couple questions in chat. Will we get to them at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay, great.
after
That's all I need to know.
yeah, after I get through the everything I want to get through, I'm gonna go through chat and answer any questions that are outstanding, and then also answer any questions that people want to unmute and ask in real time. But yeah, I'm gonna get through all that as well. So as soon as I get to it. So all right, so I'm gonna log into HSP here. Um, if you don't have access to the system, this is where you click right here. Here, request access to the system. And you fill out your name, email, and message why you want access. And then we get an email here on the back end, and it will go ahead and grant you access. Um, this is for folks who are in IHS. So in IHS, if you're an IHS employee, you have to use the D1 login. You can't use a username and password. Everyone else, if you're a tribal organization, or a contractor, you use username and password. All right. So I'm gonna sign in here. All right, so I'm in. So first things first, what you're going to want to do as soon as you come into the HSP is you're going to want to check the raw data, because you're going to make sure that you're eligible for SAP. That's the number one thing you're going to want to do. So you're going to go to service populations. You're going to select the area that you're part of. I'm saying Portland area. And you want to select the state and county that you are in. I don't know what county Portland is in. Maybe it's in Washington County, since there's a lot of folks here, maybe this one as well. But you just want to confirm that you have at least 5,000, I mean, at least 2,000 service population. And the question is, let's say if I'm in this 250 and this 384 and this 309, if all people in those particular counties have an opportunity to go to your facility to get services, then you can count them. It doesn't have to be only one individual county, and if you don't hit the 2,000 threshold, you're ineligible. It's more, where's your facility going to be located, and who has the potential to come to your facility and get services. So another thing too, and for the service population, we don't project the service population number. It's a static number. It's the year that it is in the calendar year, which is 2026. So you click run report here. And then what you do is that for your application, you just take your Adobe or you just highlight the counties that apply to your project, and then you attach it, put it into your attachment, and attach it to your application kit. So that's the very first thing you're going to do when you come to HSP, is run that raw data report and get the service population. So user population, you're gonna get that report as soon as we set up the application. I mean, set up the project in HSP. So we're gonna leave this here. All right. So now we're gonna create a new project, and we are going to name this. Right. All right. So we're going to create that project here, and say SAP application. Project number. Make this is just for internal. It's not going to be impactful for anything, but if you want to put in a project number, as it pertains to the one you put in on the fillable form, you're more than welcome to do that. I would say stick with urban health center, stick there. So projection year is important. Make sure you do a 10-year projection, 2036. So when you come here, one of the very first things you want to make sure you do is project out to 2036. Funding type, you put a small inventory program. Albuquerque area, we're going to put Portland area, and the service unit. Okay, this is going to be fun. Let's go with Western Oregon. I say Portland, and we'll get this fixed. And this is something that we can fix in HSP, since I'm planning somewhere that I'm not too familiar with, which may be the case for some folks who are doing this who might be contractors. All right, we're gonna say Oregon. There we go. All right, so now this information here, pay rate and pay locality, we're not gonna be worried about. You could put the existing facility name if you want to. I'm gonna put NA, and we're saying this is, saying it's a new clinic. We're not expanding or modernization an existing healthcare facility. So we have these other questions as well, which we can just say no to. They don't apply to us. Next is you're going to click on the GIS, and you're going to place your facility on the map here. Oops, be nice if I can spell Portland correctly. There we go. All right, so Portland. Okay, let's make sure we're not in the city proper. Happy Valley. Let's say we're going to put our facility right here. I don't know what's here, but let's just put it there, and you hit save facility location. Okay, it's not too far from Cowlitz. So this might be the Cowlitz service unit. Now that we can see the map, we got Yakima over here. Okay, Grand Ronde is down to the south. Oh, Warm Springs is over here. Okay. So HSP is grabbing the nearby facilities automatically and adding them to the project. So that's why you have this, and facility location updated, nearby facilities updated. But that's not going to be pertinent to what we're doing with SAP today. So looking at the map, let me see if I can change my. Let's see if Cowlitz is in here. No, it's still not in here. So that's okay. We will still figure it out once we get further into the project. And all the rest of this information looks okay. Okay, so it looks like we're using the new user population table, which is 2025. If you're still using the old 2024 data, that's okay. You can use 2024 or 2025. It's up to you which user population table you wish to use. And then we click save. Okay, so now with that done, next thing we're going to go to is our service area selection. And we're going to do project service areas here. And we add a service area, we're going to call it PSA. And one thing to keep in mind here is that when you're doing SAP, you select all the services, because what we're doing is we're getting a maximum amount of healthcare space that we will provide for a subset of people that we're about to select. So don't select services that are specific to your project or anything of that matter. This is overall space. So just make sure you select that. Select everything there in the service area. Now we assign a community. So this is where the map will come in big help. So I wasn't 100% sure which service units were available to me. So if you're not unsure, just select them all. You select every single one, then they will all show up. Okay, looks like we can't select them all. Maybe we can select all but one. All right, and then go to edit in map view. And when we edit in map view, we can see all the communities. Every single gray dot is a user pop community. So that is how we can figure out, okay, here's our healthcare facility. This is where we plan to build it. And we can see these are the folks who are going to come to our facility. We got 34 folks here. We got 6 folks there, 28 folks there. So to grab all these folks, we're going to first I like to do a 30-mile radius since we're just doing a clinic. And then from there, I grab a circle. Oops. Okay, I grab the circle here. And then let me grab it again. and then I grab everything here within that circle. So now, obviously, I'm not the planner for Portland area. This might not be representative of what this facility might do, but just for purposes of planning and for this example, this is what I'm going to do. And I might even show you guys how to change things. So now I selected all those folks who are in this 30-mile radius, all these user population people who are going to be part of my project. See, 44 communities selected, projected population 3,743. So that tells me that I'm now eligible for SAP because I'm over the 500 minimum. So now I can see, all right. So now I can see the service units that were selected from. So most of it was Warm Springs, Western Oregon, and a lot of non-service unit, but it looks like those were pretty much small. And then if you needed to change the market share, you can make some of these 0 if you know, okay, this person from Amboy, they're not going to come. They're not going to come to my facility. Battleground, no. These folks aren't going to come. Like all the non-service unit folk, you can 0 out if you wish. And obviously, as you can see, the user population goes down. And then you click Save Changes. And after you do that, we have our population. And then for this particular facility, I'm going to say that our service unit is going to be Western Oregon. So, and that will determine on our fillable form, if you remember this question back up above here, is right here, service unit, we're going to put in Western Oregon. And I believe that one is large, but I'll double check. And the way we check is that we have a form that's on my form here. Let me pull it up so you guys can see how headquarters checks this information out to see if you're large or small. So give me a moment here. So we have this memo that we produced, and I go down here and I check. I go to Portland, Western Oregon. Yeah, so it is over. Western Oregon is over 100,000 square feet of maximum portable space. It's 195,004 square feet. So that tells me that this is going to qualify as large on my application kit. So so MSS, I'm gonna put, what was that number again? Double check. So, where's Portland again? There we go. Okay, 195,004. Go back to my thing. 5,004. Oh, they can't even. All right, and that is going to be large. So fill that out information from using HSP. So sometimes you're going to have to bounce back between the fillable form and HSP as you pull data out of HSP to complete the process. So now we're going to go back to our HSP and we're going to hit back. So now when this happens, HSP is doing its calculations in the background for all the reports that you're going to need to attach to your application. So that's it. So you're pretty much done. So once you get to this point, you're done. One thing I'll make a caveat here is the population. If your user population isn't correct in HSP, you need to contact me ASAP. So you need to look at these numbers and make sure they match up. And this is very, very important for tribes who are Title V who are using a different EHR than what IHS is using. I know IHS is still rolling out their new EHR. We're still using RPMS. I think we're moving the path, but I know the rollout is still ongoing. It hasn't even started in full gear yet. So a lot of times when tribes compact, they move away from RPMS and they go with some other software out on the market. And sometimes when we get data back from those other EHRs into our national data warehouse, it's incompatible. And because of that, your user population numbers could be wrong. And it's a big deal because we use user population to project your need. It can affect your score. So that's why it's very, very important that this number is correct. And if it's not correct, it might be too late to change because we're already in July. But for next year, when the user population when the user population report is published, please make sure you review that data and make sure that it's correct. It matches your data internally. Because if it's not, it impacts you when you're trying to get services like when you're trying to get awards like SAP, because we use the user pop number to figure out the overall need. So just wanted to make a note about population override. So now we go to reports here, and we go to user population report, and you want to make sure you select include community data. You can select PDF here, and make sure you select this button here as well, primary service area and all the services here. And then you select run report. All right, so now we have a report. And this is important because this allows the area and headquarters to review what service units and what communities you selected, and we can see all the data that we need to be able to do a review of the application. And then here you see the number at the bottom, I don't know if I can zoom in. This zoom, yeah, because it's kind of small. All right, so it's 3,659. So that's the number that we're going to use in our score sheet. So we go to our score sheet here. So, okay, we'll get this number. We'll get this. Okay, existing healthcare facility, we're going to say 0 because we don't have an existing healthcare facility right now. And the user population was 36, what was it again? 3659. We put that number in there. So now suggested size of the healthcare facility is going to be the building area support that we're about to report that we're going to run here in a bit. So, and also if you do have existing healthcare space, you put that space in, and it's not service specific. It's all healthcare space that you have. So all this user population, if there's other tribal healthcare spaces they can get care from, you have to put that in the number here. And it doesn't count lease space. So if the tribe is leasing space, my old supervisor used to always say lease space is no space. The tribe has to own the space for it to count. So keep that in mind as well. So next thing is going back to HSP here, and then go to Program of Requirements, click the PDF button here, and we're going to run our building summary area report. So we run this report, and these are the attachments you're going to be saving. So you're going to save this attachment in your folder, and it's going to be part of your upload package once you finish your application. And also the area is going to want that information as well. So for this, we can see we have our number here for this user population is 59,196. Okay, so we go back to our score sheet here, 59,196. Okay, so basically it's saying it's 100, but imagine if we already had 25,000 square feet of healthcare space already, our need score, our percent of size needed will adjust accordingly using this fillable form. So if you have an existing facility, age factor of existing healthcare facility, if you have an existing facility, you can put down the age factor here. If it's 0.75, it'll calculate down here. If it's 1, if it's over 30 years, you can put that number down there as well. And you might be asking, if you don't have a healthcare facility, if you leave it blank, what happens? Like you can't leave it blank. So what we like to say is that if you don't have a healthcare facility, it's like having a really, really old one. So we would put in 1 for those folks who don't have any space at all, versus folks who do have space, but maybe it's only 20 years old. So then maybe you only put in an 8.5. But for this particular example, we're saying we don't have any space. This is a brand new healthcare facility in a brand new location. So this is why we are putting this here. And then here, to answer your question, once you start selecting the conditions, as you can see, the score changes automatically. So you can say, if you don't have any space, you can select poor, and then you can get your score down here correctly. But if you do have existing space, you can select how each condition is, and the area will help you figure out how to correctly rate these ratings, so to say. And then you'll be able to get your need score. So here we're getting a 32.92 need score. So now, if your healthcare facility is next to an urgent care center or emergency room, these are other distance factors we're going to have to take into account with your project. And then obviously you'll get this score down below. Um, and one thing we have to keep in mind that this is for ambulatory services only. You can't use it on a hospital campus or near a hospital. The word hospital should not be involved in this because hospital normally implies inpatient care. This is outpatient only, ambulatory only. But sometimes ERs and urgent care are outpatient. They stabilize and they move out. There's nobody staying there. So, and if that's the case, if you're going to be expanding an emergency room that doesn't have inpatient space, then you would have to put in where the closest hospital would be to you, and then it would adjust your score accordingly. But if that doesn't apply, if you're doing dental, pharmacy, other services, traditional healing, this where you would stop, and then you would just take this score and input it into the survey 1, 2, 3 portion. So, and that completes the HSP portion of this application kit. So you fill out the project information, you get your raw data, you run your population report and your building summary area, and then after that, you are done with HSP. So now, at this particular point, I'm ready to go ahead and continue on my application and filling it out online. So before we transition to that part, does anybody have any questions?
I have another question here. We have a medical center with a dental building and some other buildings on a campus. On a different campus, we have our Yuki Trails mental health and addiction help. And then we also have a family care facility. It's just, providing some after school programs and things for our youth. When I'm looking at this HSP report and I'm looking at our facility, we want to build an expansion wing and a wellness center on the first campus, the one that has the medical clinic. Am I to put together the square footage of all the existing buildings on that clinic or just the main clinical building?
For all the services those particular folks have access to. So it would be the entire campus.
Okay, but administration, storage, IT, those sorts of things, would that be part of it?
Yes,
Really?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So just on that campus, I don't have to include the mental health campus?
If the people for the expansion of the wellness center, if they have an opportunity to go to the mental health campus, then you have to include that space as well, because
Okay.
it's all healthcare space.
Gotcha.
So-
And then one last thing is I'm looking at the square footage of the buildings, not the square footage of the campus.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Correct. It's the square footage of the buildings. Correct.
Okay, good.
Not the campus, not the grass and the parking lots. That doesn't count.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Yep. You're welcome. You're welcome. So now we go back into our application kit and let's find if we can find the grant solutions link that will allow us to fill this out online. And so you just click this link right here and it'll take you right to the site that you need to go to complete your eligibility. So this first part is just a screening to make sure that you are eligible for SAP. It takes a little bit to load. So just give it a moment here. There we go. So here it is. I see my information's here as well. So I got some information about the projects here. And in here you would just put in your information that you put in from the fillable form here. So you can do I don't know if you have two screens, you could do a side by side. You can just take information off the fillable form here. And then just input it into they provide information about the patient complete in the form. So we'll say this is going to be JC. All right, and I'm going to put this in here because I'm going to submit this and I want to make sure that they know this is not a real one. So I don't want to confuse myself. So that's why I'm going to put my name in parentheses to make sure that we know this is not a real submittal to the contractors who's helping us with this. All right. Um, and then here we just go down the eligibility questions as is if they're in your fillable form. Looks like it starts right here. Recognized tribe says yes. See if I recognize tribe says yes. Different name, no, no, no. Number 4 is yes. Ownership. Yeah. The question is no. Number 6 is no. Number 7, okay, we certify. So and that's it here. They even direct you to HSP as well, but we've already certified both of these conditions. Number 8, say yes. Number 9 is yes. Number 10 is yes. Is and okay, number 11 is going to be yes. And then we hit submit. So if you're able to get down to submit, this basically tells you meet the basic eligibility requirements to submit for SAP. So you hit submit. After you hit submit, you're going to see this link come up. Please click here to move forward to the next phase of fiscal year 25-26 application process. And it's going to take you to survey 123. So you see survey 123 up here, and then you just fill out your information here. So you go back to your fillable form and you go to this information here. See district of project, applicant project. So right there, you can just applicant name or tribe name. So we say XYZ. Again. All right, descriptive title of the project. This is right from the fillable form. Project control number, we didn't have one. Okay, the location of projects. This is where you're going to get your Latin long. So you can, and also the when we did it in HSP is not linked to this. They're two completely separate platforms. So if you want, we could probably go back into HSP here, project information. Let's say if you've already enter your project information and you already used HSP, you see the Latin long here. You could copy and paste it. So let's copy here and paste and go to here back to HSP longitude, copy and paste. There you go. There. So you don't have to do it twice if you do it in HSP already. So you get the Latin long, you just copy and paste it right into here. Or you can search and then you can drag and then you can move this this blue arrow. So the way you move this blue arrow, you just move the mouse where you want it to go and you just click. And it goes with you wherever your mouse. And you left click, not right click, left click. So you left click. If I wanted to move it here, left click and it goes there. I want to move it right here, left click, it goes there. So, and ignore these errors. I'm probably gonna have to, okay, I click my browser isn't sharing my location, so that's why it's giving me this. So that's why it's not allowing me to zoom into my area automatically. But that is pretty easy to do to put the location of your facility. And if you're not 100% sure, let's say you're still in the planning phase, just give us a general location. It doesn't have to be exact right now, especially if you're still in the early planning phases of your project. Just give us a general location, and that will be sufficient. That will suffice for us as far as submitting your application. The type of project, you can select as many of these as you want. You know, obviously we're going to be constructing a new satellite, but if you're also going to be doing like a modernization as well, you're able to select as many types as you want. So don't be thinking you only have to do only one. Another thing too is here that make sure that you put in the correct number. So make sure it's 3 because we're unable to put in commas. So make sure 3.5 million is not 350,000, and make sure and definitely not going to be 35 million. So just make sure that you got your numbers correct for the amount you're asking for, because it's very important because this is the data that we're going to use to make an award. So if you've missed a zero and we say that you only want 350,000 and you get to the award phase, and then you let us know that we're off by 1-0, it might be too late, and you might only be able to get 350,000 because we would have made awards to the rest, and we just don't have any funds. And normally, what happens in those situations that either you agree to take the 350,000, or you have to reapply for next year to get the full amount. So just be very mindful of putting that information in there correctly. So we're going to do 10 million here. Here we go. So, and this can hopefully help you make sure you don't make any mistakes, 35%. Because if I did a zero too big, okay, it's definitely not 4%. If I did a zero too small, it's not 350%, so hopefully that could be a little bit of a check and balance here. This is going to be for fiscal year 25 and 26, because we're combining two. Applicant information, again, as we get from our fillable form again. I'm using it on the other screen so I can see and then translate the information. Yep, so the correspondence person. So we'll put the project manager here. We'll put Lacey in here. Right, her phone number. All right, full address. And email address. Okay, all right, different legal name. Say no. Okay, so to show the full legal name of the tribal official / administrator, shows 3 actual locations. So this is where we're probably going to put, we'll put the tribal organization leaders here. So we're just going to say Joe Lee here, president. Full address. Email address. Okay, EIN number. That's the EIN number. Oh, there it is. Okay, number 10. And these numbers, I'm not sure what these numbers are, but I'm just putting in placeholders for the sake of this training. But hopefully, each of you all have these numbers. Yes. All right, so here's where you would upload your attachments. So please slide the final attachment. Proposal, need for calculation. So basically what you can do here, I'll just do 2. So like my building summary area. So I can save this to my desktop. Save. All right. I can open up the folder here. There it is. And then you can just drag and drop it into this here. So you can just drag it and it'll upload it there for you. So and just so you guys can see, it's right here on my open up on my other screen. So same thing with the user population report. You could save it here. Save the desktop. And obviously, and when you fill out yours, you can have like a little special folder where you're saving all this stuff. And for this one, you can just drop a file here. It opens up my thing here. You can do sort by date, and we're going to do the building summary area there. So, and that's how. And then make sure you have all this uploaded, each one of these items, if they apply. Sometimes space list and floor plan might not apply because you haven't gotten that far yet in your planning, or especially if it's a new healthcare facility. If it's an existing one and you're renovating or modernizing, we definitely want to see the floor plans to the space that you're going to be, to where the project funds are going to be going to. Location and site maps. So all this information will definitely need to be uploaded, including the need for calculation. And that one, which would be right here in your fillable form. We see this sheet here. You can just extract it or print it, but you can just extract just this form here. I know everybody might not have Adobe Pro, so they might not be able to extract pages, especially if you're using the free version of Adobe. But if you can't extract, you can just print this and then scan it and then upload it as a PDF to your project here in Survey 123. So area validation, the area's already looked at it. Area checkoff list, the checkoff list area will also take that. Make sure you got everything intact. So here we got the Portland PO and the service unit is Western Oregon. And as you can see, the max portable space value automatically populated. And it's deemed large. So then NEPA, this is you're going to get from the area. So make sure this is very important. One thing about NEPA, the area is responsible for completing NEPA, and the new information for this cycle is that the area must complete NEPA before IHS can disperse the funds to the tribe. So please make a note of that, and then also make note that this is IHS is responsible for NEPA since it's a Title 1638 project. So what that means is that we are responsible for paying, doing all the NEPA work, and then also issuing the clearance before the tribe can access the funds and then do construction. Once that NEPA clearance is done, this is not money that goes back to the tribe. This money is that we take out of the SAP award to be able to pay for the NEPA costs because IHS doesn't have enough funds internally to do this work. So we need to use the SAP funds to pay for the NEPA work that's required by the Title 1638 law that IHS has to do it. So that's why getting the area support memo is just not checking a box. It's really important in getting the NEPA funds correct, how much NEPA funds you need, and then also starting the NEPA process. So then you can move quicker in getting your project awarded and then moving forward to completing your project. So, and 25,000, and then also don't be shy about how much this costs. Like if NEPA costs 350,000, then put it in there, especially if you have like floodplain issues, any type of mitigation. There might be a mitigation for birds that you might have to do, and that might be really expensive, or maybe you have to get an expensive survey for historic preservation with some sort of monitoring. So just make sure that you put in enough area to do all the NEPA tasks that you need to complete, all of it. So our existing size is we said it was 0 for this one. Proposed size, I think we're going to go with 15,000 square foot facility. It's going to be new space, no renovated space. Okay, the recommended space from HSP from the building summary area. So we check out this number, 59,196. Okay, opening date. So we're hoping to open, let's say August 2029. There we go, 15. User population, so go back to our user population report, 3693659. There we go. So we get the cost per user pop, need addressed, need applicant score. We got that already as well. That is 32.92. Oh, can't even do decimals. Okay, so just put 32. If you want, this was 30 point, you can put 33. They give you an extra round up to the whole number. Yeah, because 32 will round up. And then I just need a point of contact. So the area will provide this, and we'll just put Captain Jones here. And then you hit submit. And if you want proof that this was submitted just for your own records, what I would do is I would take a screenshot of my screen, if possible, to show that. And also, if you really want to be critical, you can use the snipping tool, and then you can grab it like this as well. And then if you really want to get technical, you can try to have the calendar up to the users. I don't know if you could do, oh yeah, that might be a little bit tough, but there's a way to do that. You use this, you do print screen, you copy and paste and paste, and then you put that in your, so you can have even more proof just in case something happens on our back end and you want to make sure that you submitted everything in on time. So that from beginning to end is how you complete your SAP application. So now I am going to hop in the chat and see if there's any questions that we need to ask and answer here. So, okay, so it looks like more time is definitely the consensus, it looks like. So we got 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, can we have multiple users after the eligibility question so we can go through the site? Okay, so I think is for the, if I'm understanding the question correctly, so our authorized representative is in a ceremony as the rights, as the writers, our team very much likes to go through a submission site to ensure we are not caught off guard. Can we have multiple users after the eligibility question so we can go through the site? It's kind of hard to have multiple um, users for the website, or if you talk about HSP, that's no problem. You can have as many folks in HSP as you want. But as it pertains to the grant solutions and the survey 123, it's not account based. It's just a form. So as I was saying, it's best just to work on the fillable form, and then once you're ready to submit, then submit in one time. I think that's the easiest and cleanest way, even if you have multiple folks working on one project, to kind of to handle that situation, because there's no for SAP one for Survey 123 and for the grant solutions platform that we're using, there's no account. So I think that might be the easiest way. Okay, we usually don't staff.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Yep. We usually don't specify staff beyond the executive director in the resolution, so we need to be this specific. Um, I just wants to know who's responsible for the application. Who can we go to if we have questions and if we need to get information? And I know sometimes these things could change because uh, tribal council changes and tribal government changes, and then employees will leave and quit, and new employees will come in. But at the very least, we want to be able to have somebody we can contact when we need to get information about the project. So so you don't need to be that specific, but more importantly, we just want to know where um, who to contact in the event we need some information from the tribe about the project. Where can you, as congressional, just a good question. I think you can Google that. I never really had to look that up.
You just Google it.
Yeah,
It'll
okay.
come right up.
It'll come right up. Okay, I figured that if you Googled it, what is my congressional district for Portland? I'm pretty sure it'll give you the numbers, and also the representatives who represent that location as well. So, right. Um, our health center has a separate board, UEI, and audits. Do we provide the health center balance sheet and audit information, the overall challenge balance sheet, audit, or both? So for this question here, it depends on how much delegation authority the tribe is given to the center. Normally, we ask for the overall tribe's balance sheet and information and audit information, and not just the centers, because um, because normally this is a government to government relationship. So if the center has the authority to enter into contractual agreements on the behalf of the tribe, then I think that would be suffice. But if they don't have that authority, then it has to go to the tribe. It has to go to so to get the audits and the information in place. So that's how you answer that question. So we probably don't need both. 'Cause if you get the tribe's overall information, we're not going to need the health center information. But if if the health center does have that authority, it wouldn't hurt to add the tribal information as well, just in case if it's asked for by contracting or other folks internally here at IHS. So, but more importantly, it just we got to remember who has the authority to enter into a contractual agreement with the federal government. Because sometimes tribes still reserve some of those powers for the tribal government and not give all those powers to the health center. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they give full autonomy to the health center to enter into these type of agreements. So I think that is the main thing, is who has the authority to enter into a government to government relationship with the federal government.
Quick follow-up there. Do you want the tribal resolution from the tribe that gives the authority to the tribal health center?
Yes,
Okay, so we upload that with our documents?
yeah, that is preferred. That is preferred. So we know so there's no questions or ifs, ands, or buts, because you got to remember everything that you're submitting is going to be part of the overall contract for once if you do get awarded between IHS and the tribe. So the more clarity we have about who is responsible for what and who has authority over what, the better easy for us to process things. So
okay, so you're
yeah.
going to want two tribal resolutions, one from the health center, one from the board of directors on the health center, and one from the tribe itself, with the authority being given to the health center.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you so
Yep.
much.
Okay. So the main building is 90,000 square feet, but does not include outbuildings such as the administration building, garages, tool sheds, daycare. Our project is obviously on the main building. Do we include the outbuildings in our square footage calculations? No, so admin counts. So admin count, the garages, tool sheds, so daycare, those are kind of, if it's deemed healthcare, we count it. And we also think about it as, if I just was going to build that healthcare facility, what spaces would we count? Normally, we don't build daycare space. We don't consider daycare space, quote unquote, healthcare space. In extreme circumstances, we might do it, but on general, we don't consider daycare space healthcare space. So we wouldn't count that. Garages, tool sheds, admin buildings, that could be considered healthcare space. Now, are the garage and tool sheds also used for all the tribal buildings not that are not include, and also when we say administration buildings, not tribal administration buildings, we mean healthcare administration. So wherever you're doing your patient registration, accounts payable, receivable, PRC processing, the business office for the healthcare facility, that's the admin. We're not talking about tribal chambers and all those sorts of things. Those don't count. So it's just anything that's related to healthcare counts.
Thank you.
Okay, so how do we fill in the maximum portable space / class if your facility supports multiple service units? So I would just say wherever the healthcare facility is located, go with that that service unit. So because and in the example, as you can see for our HSP example, oh, I got logged out, but the Portland location had non-service unit, Western Oregon, it had a whole bunch of service units that expand the overall user population. So I went with one that I felt was going to be representative of where the location of the healthcare facility was, which was Western Oregon.
I have a quick follow-up to that. I just wanted to know, what was that document you were using to pull that MSS number? Is that like located on IHS's website?
No, that's an internal document. So that's what our internal document to check the max affordable space for tribes, and that we developed a while ago, and that we still use to reference max affordable space. So that particular document is not publicly available, but as you see in Survey 123, as you put in your service unit, the number will automatically populate. So that particular data and information is already pre-populated in Survey 123. Because as soon as you put in your service unit, it'll automatically pre-populate with the correct classification and the overall value for the maximum portable space.
Okay, and it's not important to have that filled when we're submitting it to the IHS office. They'll just be able to check that themselves.
Yeah, IHS office. Yeah, if you don't know, the IHS area office should be able to help you figure that out and make sure, because it is definitely very, very important. And why it's important is that when we classified small and large, we split. If you look in the application kit, we split the funds, I believe 75-25. So those who are classified as small will go after 75% of the 50 million, and those who are classified as large will only be able to go after 25%. So that's why it really does matter, because if you're classified as small, you have a higher chance of getting into the funding range versus somebody who's classified as large. So, because
Thank you.
yeah, we fund all the small projects first, and then we fund the large. So, all right, please leave. Leamington, all right. Okay, our NEPA funds part of the 3.5 million, or it could be over the limit. So if your particular project is 3.5 million, and let's say NEPA is going to cost $1 million, we would award the project for 3.5 million to the tribe. The $1 million will stay here at the headquarters, and we will use that $1 million to complete NEPA. So, so that's why we sometimes NEPA costs can get really, really expensive depending on the amount of the environmental situation that may be upon us with the project, especially if it's in a difficult location. So we need to make sure that we have enough funds to comply, and then also the tribe can complete. So it doesn't take away from their overall cap of 3.5 million. It's the 3.5 million and anything above, but that just counts as technical support to IHS to complete the NEPA process. So the IHS area is responsible for completing the NEPA estimate, not the tribe. The question was, does the applicant estimate NEPA, or does the area office? The area office does that. What if we have a lot of crossover patients, i.e. patients from neighboring service units? Can we count the crossover patients in our base population? The only way to do that is if you select them in user population. So if you have a realistic expectation that those particular crossover folks are going to come to your healthcare facility, then just select them in HSP as a user population. Like we don't have to, since we're not planning a full project, like we're not doing the PJD and building a new healthcare facility and using HCFC funds and estimating staffing cost. What we're doing is we're just using HSP to get data to complete the SAP cost. I mean, the SAP application kit. So, so for this question here, the best way to account for crossover is just selecting the user population where those particular people may be at and just adding them to your overall calculation. Okay, so another question. We want to construct a new clinic to replace existing space that we are currently leasing. We have 2 other clinics that we own. For the need for project calculation table, do we use the square footage of the clinics that we own for line A? So let's take a look at line A. Okay, yes. And for line E and F, are we supposed to use the age and condition of the yeah. So only the clinics that you own. Anything that you lease, don't count anything that you lease in this calculation for don't count anything that you lease. My old supervisor said lease space equals no space. So that would be a 0. If you're leasing space, that would be a 0. Everything would be poor. That would basically make sure that we're reflecting the actual need, because you don't have any healthcare space whatsoever. So we like to think those who don't have any healthcare space at all versus those who have some are in a worse condition and have more need versus those who do have a facility, but it may not be in the best of shape. At least they still have a place they can go, hire providers, and provide care versus those who don't have anything at all whatsoever. So hopefully that answers that question.
I have a little follow-up question on that. The different buildings on our different campuses are different ages. Should I just use, our original healthcare building is one age, and then we built a wing. They're all kind of aging out, but some are newer than others. Should I be using the age of the facility where we're doing the expansions?
So this has been a interesting question throughout the years. A lot of times what we do is we just do like an average. So if you have a lot of old buildings, you can kind of do like a weighted average to kind of get like an idea for what the overall weighted average is for all the healthcare facilities, and then put that number in there.
Okay.
So I think that might be the best way. So, because the existing size of a healthcare facility, we're taking account all healthcare space, all healthcare facility space that you have. So when you come to E, we're taking account of overall age of all the facilities that you do have. And the only reason why we do that is because for C, we are taking all the user population, and this is what IHS will provide. Like if I just had all the funds in the world and we were going to build a new healthcare facility, we would build almost a 60,000 square foot facility for this user population and their projected growth. So if they already have healthcare assets there, and there are various ages, then that's when we say we take the overall healthcare space for all the user population for this 3,659. And then for the age factor, I would just do a weighted average of all the facilities. So you could do something like you could do it by space as well. Say this particular facility is small, but it was built in 2020. You don't want it to skew something that was built in 1970 that is very, very large. So that's why you got to take something like a weighted average.
Great. Thank you so much, Commander.
Yep, you're welcome. All right. Any other questions? Okay.
Yeah. Is there a link for instructions on how to access the survey 123? It doesn't seem very intuitive.
Yeah. So there's no account on survey 123. The only way you get the survey 123 is when you complete your grant review form. So if you go back to form, the only way you get to this link is if you complete this form. After you complete that form, then the link becomes available. So you can even check your past submittal. So that's the only way you can gain access to the link. There's no account. I know it seems kind of strange, but the way why we set this up is that we wanted to make sure that a tribe is eligible before they can submit their technical proposal and everything else that comes with the SAP application. So that's why it's set up the way that it's set up. But after you complete this grant review form and fill out this information, the link automatically pops up and you just click on that and you just access it. I'm trying to see if I can. But also, if you want a little bit of a search shortcut for those who are on the call now, if you just save this URL, it'll just take you straight to the link. It'll just take you straight to the survey 123. But I'm going to say, please use this with caution, because like what we're trying to avoid is folks submitting 3 and 4 and 5 different application, like survey 123 form submittals. Because then on the back end, we're not going to know which one is the final one and which one is the one was just a test. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid duplicates and triplicates coming in because something else changed last minute and now you want to go back and submit another survey 123 form. So that's why we kind of did it the way that we did. But in all actuality, if you save that URL, you can always gain access to this form and upload things and not have to do the grant solutions part. But the grant solution part still has to be done, because if that's missing, then you're going to be ineligible. So that's why we try to make the application flow through your fillable form, get your area support memo. Once you get all your documents in one location, do your grant solutions, do your survey 123, upload your documentation, submit, done. And just do it one time. Because if you start doing it double and triple times and we don't get the one that you want to be reviewed by the ORT, it can hurt your score. Or more importantly, you can get awarded, but it might not be their correct amount. Maybe you ask for 1 million, then you ask for 1.5, then you ask for 900,000. You might not think applicants do that. I'm gonna say yes, applicants do that. So applicants will change things many, many times before the deadline. And we always try to think that the last one is the one that they really mean to submit, but that might not always be the case. So that's why we always say, make sure you have everything all set and then submit one time to make sure we limit down on duplications and confusion. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, not hearing anything. So hopefully this is going to be the last one for this cycle. I'm going to try and work with the IHS OIT to get this posted so you can have this on demand. But I thank everyone for coming today. And please, if you have any questions, you can email me or you can reach out to your areas and we'll try to help you get this all figured out so you can get everything submitted on time and make sure that you're eligible and we can submit your application to the objective review team. So with that, I'll say thank you all for attending, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.